It's Friday. It's pre-recorded. Now the show Dozens Love the 9 Years Podcast.
Everybody, welcome to the 9 Years Podcast. Nick Draper here again with the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deacons. Stu, you are the face of the BBC Sport website. However, are you not now the face of the AFC Wimbledon official Twitter page?
Well, yeah, I have my phone. It feels like since Thomas has been born, my son, it just feels like he's more popular than I am. And I feel like I'm just in pictures because he's in pictures. Yeah, it's really weird. He had his picture taken at Hampton. He had his picture taken at home to Rotherham. So I just said yes. I know who's taking pictures. I think they weren't media. But yeah, my son seems to be getting more pictures than I do. So I wouldn't say I'm the face. I think my son is becoming very quickly the face, which, yeah, I don't know if I'm comfortable with too much.
How long is it before you get him on the podcast and he actually replaces you? I mean, I'm already hearing that he speaks more sense than you anyway.
It don't take much, does it? Just put two words together in a sentence and you're there, aren't you?
True story, sort of. A lot of short sentences, but yeah, okay. Anyway, on that note...
that was that conversation. Confident.
That was great. Thank you very much for downloading the show this week. Whether it be via iTunes, whether you're listening online, 9yspodcast.org, whether you're listening through YouTube, whether you are one of those people that listens on podomatic.com, or from now on, from today, or actually a couple of days ago, Spotify. We are now available on Spotify. So if you didn't know this, and if you would like to be able to listen on Spotify, you now can. Just search for 9YRS Podcast, and you will find the latest podcasts from us on there. Before we get into the main discussion points of this week's show, we will be discussing the defeat to Rotherham. We'll be looking ahead to the game with Fleetwood on Saturday, and we'll be briefly touching on next week's League Cup tie. We've got a few other bits and pieces to mention. We will, of course, just quickly touch on our music quiz, which we brought back last week. Thank you very much. For those of you who got in touch with us, if you have recognised the music at the start of this week's show, just tweet us at 9YRS Podcast. Song title, artist, what year you think it was released. Last week, Marco Cura, friend of the show. At Crew Womble, money's too tight to mention, Simply Red. Thank you very much, Marco. Didn't give us a year though. We'll let you off. It was 1985, a full 9 years before I was born, which was quite poetic in some regards, 9 years. But Stu, I don't know if you've got this phenomenon or you're experiencing this phenomenon, but I'm hearing the words 9 years a lot. When I turn on the TV, whether it be a show or the news or whatever it might be, I'll be listening to the radio, I'll be reading a book, listening to a podcast, wherever it might be, 9 years is said a lot. People will be writing into radio shows and saying, well, my wife and I have been together for 9 years. Or I'll be watching a drama show and they'll be saying, well, this has been this way for 9 years. Or someone will be just like reviewing a film and they'll be like, well, when the first part came out 9 years ago. It's all very weird. I think it's because there's something in the universe that means this is not coincidence. There's some sort of message that someone's trying to get to me via the medium of 9 years. I just haven't worked it out yet. I think that's a safe assumption, though. Would not you agree?
I sort of think you've had too much time off work.
I don't have time off work, though. This is a myth.
That's a myth. Yeah, maybe it's just you're noticing it, or we're just very famous, and people just the 9 years is just everywhere, isn't it? It's I don't know. It's like a game of The Sims, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just like it's a computer game out there.
So you're saying evolution is a myth, and this is all intelligent design, and somebody's up there playing us as if we are Sims characters.
Definitely. And if somebody is, can they please give us a bit more money? Because is there some sort of cheat that they can put into the programme that can just give us a bit more budget for the squad?
For the squad or for the stadium?
Well, well, squad's important this season, but maybe the stadium could do with a little bit of a hack of a code that we can just change the million, just change it to like 4, 5 or 6 million, please.
Sort of like The Matrix, or back in the old days of Football Manager, Championship Manager, where you could go into the editor and just give Wimbledon like £20 million to spend.
Exactly, or make Quezzy change Quezzy from 11 rating for shooting, or strength, and change it to 20. Then was a winner.
Yes, God love Quezzy Appiah. We'll come on to him later, as we always do. Let's start with another squad player, though. In fact, let's just talk about stadium finances because I've dropped it in there. 1.4 million at time of recording we seem to have raised. We're about 10 days into the period of 60 days we've got to reach 2 million. I don't want to spend very long on here discussing this, Stu. We are in the situation we are in. We can't change it. We just got to get on with it. I'm wondering, can we not just put buckets out at the stadium? Get people to chuck in loose change, take it to the away end, get them to chuck a couple of quid to us, whatever it might be, and then we collect all that money and then we give it to somebody, say, for example, just say David Charles, for example, and say David Charles is going to take that money and put it into the investment under his name. Because at this moment in time, I'm panicking.
Yeah, I know we spoke very briefly about it last week, didn't we? And you sort of said that. I was optimistic, as I always am. As I said before, we have nothing to measure it against, do we? So we're sort of like going, well, does this normally happen? Or are we just waiting? We know that there's an issue with the overseas investment. So, we've got John Green and Vinnie Jones on the promotion video, which is a really, really good video. However, they're both based in America. So they can't put anything in, I'm assuming. And you have to think John Green's got quite a good following, isn't he, with his nerd fighters. They might want to put some money in. But, yeah, it's drying up a little bit. And I can't help but feel that we've got a big pile of poo at the moment to get through.
There's nothing worse than when it dries up and you're left with a big pile of poo.
I know. And, yeah, we just don't know, do we? We don't know if it opens up to overseas investment. Does that mean that we will see it, significantly improve, or is it a case that actually that's all we're going to get? If that's all we're going to get, then we're going to have a hefty bank loan, which I know we don't want. Thankfully, we can get a bank loan because before, when we were at Kings Meadow, we couldn't get anything. So thankfully, we can get a bank loan, but it's going to be a hefty sum if we don't get more money invested.
Well, let's just park that for the time being because that's going to be an ongoing sort of thing. Let's talk more about squad matters. Nathan Trott. Before we get on to whatever happened on the pitch on Saturday, the first bit of news was Nathan Trott and his absence. Apparently a groin injury. Apparently he's gone back to West Ham to have it treated. Are we just taking that on face value for the time being?
Well, you have to believe the club, don't you? I think it feels a bit like first game of the season, we didn't know that he was injured and he missed the game, and then we have Tanners. Is it Tanners? I don't know what to call him.
Zanev.
I just call him the new Zanev.
Stu, we've got a new game. We named it after him. Come on.
Oh, we did, but I forgot about that. Anyway, the New Zealand goalkeeper. Yeah, do you know what? You can't help. You just think something's going on, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You can't help think that way. And there's loads of rumours going around Saturday. Everyone loves a rumour, don't they? And then rumour mill goes like anything. I suppose what he didn't really help, he looked a little bit like, well, yeah, he's got a bit of a groin strain. West Ham are going to... It felt a little bit like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean?
It's a bit cagey because it was the same. Glyn Hodges did an interview earlier this week and the question was asked of him about Nathan, and it just came across as uncertain, really.
I suppose they just don't know, do they? Because with a club like that, the parent club always has the option. The parent club would always do the injury, and West Ham have got probably better facilities than us. That's not hard to say that. But maybe what even just don't know. West Ham may decide to recall it, or the groin injury might be worse than what they think. The parent club have all the control in this say. So maybe that's why they were being cagey, because actually at this point in the time, we're not the one that's in control because he's not our player.
Well, to kind of link two things together here, then we've got on the one hand squad issues, on the other hand we've got stadium finance issues. Let's do a big game of what if or mirror universe, whatever it might be. Lyle Taylor. He apparently, and nothing, as a time of recording, we've heard nothing more about this, but Brentford have made an offer, £3.5 million, rising to $5 million, we understand, for Lyle Taylor. Imagine if we had managed to get him to sign a contract and then we could have sold him on for $1 million. I know we had this discussion, it seems like we've had it every week, but we talked about it all last season and this season with Deji Oshalaja and Tom Elliott in the past and lots of other players, but you're looking at that money and thinking, oh, wouldn't that have been great to put towards the stadium if we could have had millions of pounds in one hit?
Yeah, I agree. The thing is, if we're realistic, and we could go, the clubs club should have done that, the club should have done this, and we got 5 million. It doesn't really work that way, because realistically, if Lar had signed a new contract, well, maybe the reason that a club like Middlesbrough or Brentford, I know Brentford put a bid in, but I think Borough are interested as well. But the reason is because of what he did in the champion, in the team that got promoted, and he's a championship player now, and I think he's probably on a hefty contract. There's no doubt we would have got some money, and I think the is it Lapido or
Freddie Ladapo.
Ladapo, I was getting 2 bits of me. He went for £500,000. I think that's what Lar would have been worth for us, if I'm being truthful. I don't think we'd have got bids of 3.5 million and stuff like that. However, I think the point for me is it's another player that we're seeing going on to doing really well that we lost for nothing. And it's the same old theme, isn't it? Deji went for nothing. We lost Jake Reeves for a relatively small fee, didn't we? Tom Elliott went, and the only one we've actually really got money for was Civic, and it feels like we've got a bit of a better system where we understand that. But good luck to Lyle. It's good money for Charlton. Look at the profit for Charlton in one season. That's crazy, isn't it? And you can see why Charlton accepted a bid. Be mad not to.
You've listed quite a few player names there. I just want to ask you a quick question. So I'm just going to I'm going to say the player's name, and after I say it, I just want to ask you who brought them to the club. So Lyle Taylor.
Neil Ardley.
Tom Elliott.
Neil Ardley.
Jake Reeves.
Neil Ardley.
Deji Oshalaja.
Neil Ardley, obviously in the Cardiff Academy.
Who was trying to bring Freddie Ladapo in?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't lock the doors, did we? But yes, that's one that Neil spotted as well. So, yeah, I know where you're going with this one.
Yeah, I don't think I need to expand on that, do I?
No, you don't. And I think it's like anything, recruitment's a judgment game, isn't it? But there's many things that he got right. He just got it wrong in the latter part of the season, which is, the latter part of his career with us, and that's what he's remembered for.
Oh, well. Another player he brought in, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here, because we're going to talk now about the defeat to Rotherham, 2-1 defeat on Saturday. But it sort of links nicely to one question I've got on my list, which is Joe Pigott, because just remind me, who signed Joe Pigott for us?
That would be Neil Ardley.
All right, okay. Right, I had a question about Joe Pigott. So he scored our first goal of the season on Saturday, so we ticked that box, and he got however many it was in all competitions last season. Was it 21 in the end in all competitions? Something like that, 15 in the league. He got a hat-trick as well, didn't he? Only the second player in the Football League to do that for us.
Yes.
Okay, so Joe Pigott, we've talked a lot about him and his all-round game. Basically, Joe Pigott is a player that I don't want to play anywhere on the pitch other than in the box, in front of goal. That's where we're getting the best out of Joe Pigott. From a coaching perspective, what do you do with a player like that? Because does Wally Downs and Glyn Hodges, do they have a responsibility to Joe Pigott, the player, to develop his all-round game day-to-day on the training field and then make him into somebody that can offer us more than just scoring goals? Because I've got to be honest with you, that is what he offers us. I'm not complaining about it. He scores goals. It's great. Every team would want a goal scorer. But he really doesn't offer us much else at all, does he, elsewhere on the pitch? So do you try and coach him to get more out of him? So when he can link play better, if he can be stronger, if he can hold the ball up, whatever it might be? Or do you just accept his strength is scoring goals? Let's just concentrate on getting him in those positions to score goals.
I think it's like anything. I think you rely on players' strengths, don't you? And if you think back to, we talk about Neil Ardley. Neil was very much a one that he wanted people to change. So he was very much a strong believer that the forwards worked as hard and they defended from that area of the pitch. So rather than saying defenders defend, it was actually, you forwards, once you lose a ball, you defend and you get your shape and you do things like that. Waddy's it's not as obvious with Waddy and Glyn that they want forwards to, don't get me wrong, they don't want them to be lazy, but it doesn't feel like, I sometimes wonder, and I've been spoken about Lyle quite a bit, but I sometimes wonder how Lyle would have played in a Waddy's team, a Waddy and Glyn's team, sorry. I wonder how he would have done that, because in Neil Ardley's team, he played wide and he was always really working hard up and down the pitch, where if you look at Pigott, he's not really asked to do that. And Fleavy, you could argue that he's not. So I think what Waddy and Glyn are trying to do is trying to basically get the team to play towards Pigott's strengths. Piggott's strength is not playing a long ball from a goalkeeper and trying to flick a ball on. Neither is that for Levy's strength. So I think we're caught between a rock and a hard place at the moment. My gut feeling is, and I know people will find it mad, but there's rumours again that Middlesbrough are interested in Joe Pigott. They seem to be interested in everybody, but I personally would sell Joe, because I think actually we need to get something different. The two forwards that we had up front on Saturday, they can't win a ball in the air. And you rightly said Pigott becomes alive in the box, but we just don't seem to be able to get the ball in the box enough. So, yeah, I think you get the team to play towards his strength is what I would say on that. But I still believe we're going to let him go and get a transfer fee for him.
What do you do then with him in training? Like, do you just work on it? Do you just practice his finishing with him? Do you give him individual? I mean, obviously he does his fitness and what have you and stuff like that. But if that's what we're going to get from him, then I guess you just you keep working on his finishing. I don't know what else to say.
Well, yeah, he seems a natural finisher, doesn't he? It's interesting. He's not great. If you put a ball in the air from a goal kick, he doesn't win much. And that's unfair on Saturday, because Rotherham was like living in the world of the Giants. But actually, from the cross, he was the first to react. So he senses. He's a goal scorer. He senses when the ball's there to be won, and he gets in good positions, and he scored a good goal on Saturday. I think what you do, you accept what he's good at, and you try and get him in the box as much as you can, because then if you can get crosses in, or you can work 1-2s in there, Joe senses a goal, and he's a goal scorer. The problem is if you don't in the first half of the Saturday, if you don't have enough possession of the ball, Pigott becomes a passenger. And equally alongside that, Levy become a passenger. So that was our biggest problem on Saturday.
Yeah, especially in that first half. Another player that was a bit of a passenger, Anthony Hartigan, but he did set up the goal. It was the corner from Hartigan, wasn't it? Great delivery that Pigott really didn't have to jump, did he? But I sense you're about to butt in there and say something about Anthony Hartigan.
Yeah, I think it's a big season. I think it's a big season for Anthony Hartigan, because there's no doubt if Anthony Hartigan had an extra yard of pace, he would not be playing for us. There's no question about that. Ability and dead balls and a CF pass and stuff like that. However, League One is sort of bypassing him a little bit. He just doesn't have the legs, and there's a few examples of that on Saturday. And this is not being disrespectful towards Anthony Hartigan, because it's quite obvious to see, but I think it's quite a big season for him, because I wonder at the moment, is he the one that's guaranteed a midfield place? Because I probably think his position is up for grabs. But he had a gilt-edged chance, didn't he, after the goal, and it was just that little bit of, I don't know, composure, a bit of pace, maybe a bit of a nosebleed because he's in the area. He's not normally in the area. But yeah, tough game for him on Saturday, especially first half.
Yeah, and you talk about his place being automatic in that midfield. Anthony Wordsworth was injured. If Wordsworth was fit, he would have started. Who would have dropped out?
Well, it felt like Hartigan was playing more. It was very difficult to see how the three were playing in there on Saturday.
I should say it was Will, Callum Riley.
Yeah, and I think there was a bit of surprise when Will was in there. We saw him. Well, I say he played there against Met Police. Close.
Non-league, they're all the same.
They're all the same, aren't they? But he played in there against Met Police, and you sort of tend to think that with the height, Wagstaff could have been someone else that could have played instead of Will, who might have moved into the back three. But I think it was pace, wasn't it? But it sort of felt in a way that Will was sitting along with Callum O'Reilly, and then Anthony Hartigan was a bit more of the forward one on that, which is not really his game or what we've seen of it. So you sort of have to think that it would be Anthony Wordsworth that probably would replace Hartigan, with my assumption.
And I think we're going with the idea that Will was in there for height. Makes you wonder what's going to happen long term. I don't think that's. I don't know. I just don't see Wordsworth coming in and Will sort of dropping back into centre half and one of the centre halves. Do you see what I mean? It's like that third midfield slot is just. I'm not sure if we've got three midfielders that complement each other particularly well in the squad.
We don't. And the thing is, on Saturday, you could argue actually that the three centre halves didn't do much wrong. I thought we were quite solid against a let's be fair, Michael Smith, another one. Who signed Michael Smith, by the way?
Neil Ardley.
And interestingly, I've said this before, we actually went for, it was Joe Pigott and Michael Smith that were at the Charlton. We actually did go for Pigott at that time and got Michael Smith. Shows what you can do sometimes, isn't it? But we did scout both of those. But them two are a handful. And actually, sometimes they were playing a free against us. They were playing Vassell as well against it. And I thought, actually, you could argue, those three actually did really well, along with Will. So I think what he's got the problem of is who does he drop? Will's his captain, so he's not going to drop Will. So is he going to find a place for Will in that midfield, which he can play? But I think Will's our best defender. So should you be playing Will where he can? Don't forget, Paul Canby has actually played in midfield as well. He played against there for Pompey against Pompey last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
So Waddy obviously is quite comfortable putting people in those positions, but it's a good problem to have. But you're right, we pretty don't have a midfield to complement each other, and it's a little bit of a mishmash. But it's strong, but you just don't know whether we're going to get the goals from there, which ultimately we need more goals from midfield areas. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, does that also come with the way we sort of set up? Because you're right, the three centre-halves that all had good games on Saturday, we never looked... They were very solid. They were very solid, you're right. But was that also a case of the way we set up was very similar to what we did at the second half of last season, which was quite deep, lots of men behind the ball, very low-risk football, not getting ourselves in positions where we can be overloaded or players can get in behind. And when you're playing with that, when you've got that sort of team shape built up, then it does sort of protect your centre-halves a bit, doesn't it?
It does, but the thing that I was really impressed with on Saturday was the fact that we haven't lost that resilience. We haven't lost that fighting spirit and staying in games. We were good at it. From January onwards, we had that resolve, didn't we? That resilience to stay in games. We might be being, Rotherham were bad at us, to be fair, in some situations with possession and stuff like that, but we stayed strong. We got through it, and in the end, the goal was a set piece, and then we got back in it just after half time. I think we might be a bit more attacking. I said to you about the two wing backs, O'Neill and Nesta. They play so high. They're like wingers, basically. They're so high from anything on that. And I think we're going. I think in the end on Saturday, that was the difference that managed to box in Rotherham, because they couldn't get out. The wide areas we were able to switch it. There was many a time where O'Neill can come inside and played a crossfield ball to Nesta, and they basically were playing as wingers, and that was what boxed them in. And that's why the disappointment, I think, of conceding the goal was because actually, do you know what, we stayed in the game so well, but we just rubbished that piece, which we'll probably go on to. But yeah, I think we're just resilient. I think we just got a good resolve balance, and that is something you can take out of Saturday's performance. I think actually we haven't changed that, and we brought a few new players in. I think we've done well with our limited recruitment really over the summer.
Well, let's talk about recruitment. Let's look at the new players. So there were four players making their debuts. You could argue Falevi as a fifth, as a sort of second debut if you want to. Let's go through them. You've already mentioned the two wing-backs. I want to bring back the 5-star rating system, if we may, Stu.
Okay.
Your rating out of 5 stars. You can go half stars or quarter stars if you really want to. You can even go up to 7 stars apparently these days, but don't do that. 5 is the limit. Start with my personal pick and my vote for man of the match on Saturday, Luke O'Neill. What would you give him?
I'd give him 4.5 stars.
That is high praise. He really impressed me. I think he's going to be... I'm earliest ever shout for Player of the Year.
Yeah. Because you know what? I think there's so many qualities that he has. Undoubted technical ability. He's good with both feet. He's willing to get forward. He loves a tackle. But his set pieces, Andy Hart's going to set the goal up. But he's going to quickly become a fan's favourite. And I said to you during the summer that I really liked him, and I wasn't surprised. Although I did say to you that it would be a contest between him and Nesta. Different stages of their career. One's obviously new into the Football League, but I think our wing backs could be our stars this season. Yeah.
So what do you give Nesta for his debut?
Nesta, I would give. I'd give him 3.5 stars.
Why not? Why not quite as much as O'Neill?
I thought we went that way more often than not, and I just think the reason I gave 4.5 stars to Luke O'Neill was purely the fact that he was effective both ways, where Nesta just didn't in the end get. I think apart from one dribble he did down the far side and got to the byline, he just didn't get enough quality in the box in the end.
Fair enough. Callum Riley, we've talked about the midfield and compliments and what have you. Do you think he's an automatic starter? Is he a more defensive-minded midfielder now? I don't really know. It's very difficult for me. He was doing a lot of work on Saturday, but I don't know if I got a good enough glimpse to really get a feel from what I can expect from him over the course of the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, do you know what? He's going to be a player that you're going to realise when he's not in the squad of the job that he does. So I think he does he's got good legs around the midfield area. I think he can play a holding or he can play an attacking. Cyric, again, loves a tackle. I think he went into a 50-50 tackle and took no prisoners, which I loved because I think you've got to go and win a ball. You don't want to go in half-hearted, and we've seen enough of that. But I think he might be a player that you will notice more when he's not playing. In terms of you'll realise actually sometimes we haven't got him in there, and he does a steady job.
And the big one, we've already spoken about Nathan Trott, Nick Zanev.
Yeah.
How do you summarise his performance? Bearing in mind some excellent saves in there. Some question marks over crosses, a bit of a mixed bag, but it was his debut, of course, his Football League debut. So we're not here to be harsh. We're just sort of saying strengths and weaknesses. Where do we stand with him long term, do you think?
I don't know, really. He's obviously done well because he's been kept on. What I would say to you, though, is if you ask somebody neutral and at the end of the game you ask how you got on, they probably would have thought that Sanchez had played probably 20, 30 league games. I think it was we obviously knew it was his debut, but he didn't look nervous. He looked like he was trying to be as confident as he could in everything he did. And actually, I was quite impressed with him because I've seen some real nerves in goalkeepers on their debuts, and I didn't sense that from him. He made an early save from the header, which was we're not going to say it's a comfortable save because it was only from yards out, but I think Lapido gave him a chance, didn't he, with a downward header. However, I felt he was a presence, and I remember, nothing against Joe McDonnell, but I remember when Joe McDonnell come in and he was a little bit nervy, coming out for crosses. Zanev tried to come out for as much as he could do, which is probably, that was why he looked a bit ropey, but I would have no problem if he played again on Saturday and got a run of games. Is he the answer for the whole season? I don't know. He's a cheaper option, but I probably would like us to get somebody else in. If Trott, as rumour has it, might be injured or might not be coming back.
The thing with the goalkeeper, and in the context of the game as a whole, is that he was by far and away the busier keeper. So I know we had a much improved second half performance and we made a game of it with Rotherham, which are a team I expect to be in the top 6 come the end of the season. We had one shot on target. And that's why, on reflection, I would say Rotherham deserved to win the game in the end. Because they bossed the first half. They dominated the first half, and even in the second half, Zanev was called into action. Paul Kalimbayi was called into action. Paul Kalimbayi's balls were called into action to keep us level.
Which are black and blue, apparently.
Well, I mean, I don't know where to go with that one, Stu. You put me in a very awkward position in this day and age with that comment. So moving swiftly on. Yes, I think Rotherham would probably say, on reflection, they got the win and they probably deserve the win. We have to think about, you've already mentioned about not getting the ball in the box enough for Joe Pickett. We have to think about chances and the number that we're creating. One shot on target at home.
But you know what? It's interesting what you said about actually it was a busy goalkeeper. You're right. I wouldn't disagree with that. And I would say, though, it's all about reactions sometimes. And if you look at the two teams, if you look at the reactions of both teams when the goal went in, it sort of told you who felt that they had sneaked. Me personally, I think a draw would have been a fair result. If someone was going to win it, yes, Rotherham probably did have, on reflection, the better chances. But you could tell by their reaction and our reaction of where the momentum was at that time, if that makes sense on that side of it. But it's an interesting point what you said about one shot on target. The thing we don't do, we just don't shoot. We seem to sometimes love this perfect. Remember Arsenal where they'd play another pass and then another pass and it'd go wide.
As much as I can, but yeah.
But the perfect goal, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and sometimes we don't like to shoot. We got to accept sometimes these goalkeepers ain't very good. Look at the goal that Gillingham scored against us when Ramsdale made the error. Ultimately, if you don't shoot, that don't happen. But the fact is, a pop shot, it bounced in front, it swerved and whatever and stuff like that. We don't shoot enough, and that's the problem. We try and get balls, crosses. We try and get the wide areas where we play the two wing backs. I sometimes just wish that we'd have a go. And that's sometimes why we don't work the keeper enough, because we seem to think that it's not worth shooting from 25 yards. Well, do you know what? Sometimes these keepers flap a bit, and the goalkeeper, I wouldn't say he flapped at the goal, but he did get a touch. He got a sizable touch on the Piggott header. Couldn't keep it out. He's not a great goalkeeper.
It's very strange, though, because we seem to be have been saying this for however many years. Very strange phenomenon that seems to be around, no matter who's managing us or whoever is in charge. Just seems to be a reluctance to actually shoot. I don't know how we overcome this problem, but we've got players that can hit a ball. We know Wordsworth can shoot from distance. He'll quite happily do that. And we've got evidence of that. Pinnock will when he's in the team. Well, we'll come on to that. Well, maybe not.
Maybe do you know what? We are just very kind players. So maybe it's the fact that because we've got the John Green has obviously got a family enclosure, and the Tempest End has got a very close, the fans are very close. Maybe we're just worried that actually if we miss the target, we're going to hurt some of our fans. Maybe it's just a care and a community thing that we do.
That's very good. Well, we are a community club, so that would make sense.
Yeah, we're just nice people. We don't want to hurt them with wayward shots.
So when we go away to some of the bigger stadiums, like when we go to Portman Road in the next couple of weeks, you'll be shooting from every angle because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it reminds me.
Please, this is going to be the Blackburn story, isn't it? This is going to be Ewood Park. Yes, okay, go on.
It's the funniest thing ever when Ben Thatcher and Mark Kennedy were just shooting into the kids at Blackburn. And of course,
sorry, clarify that statement. Very.
Oh yeah, I missed the word. Did I? Sorry, they were shooting the ball.
Oh no,
the training balls into the kids at Blackburn.
Amazing.
Anyone who had been at Blackburn around the time of Shearer and Sutton would have been fed up with the high-pitched Shearer sound. So Blackburn at that time, obviously, they didn't have many people in the town because Blackburn, you could blink and you miss it. So they had a lot of kids from schools and stuff like that. But yeah, Kennedy and Ben Thatcher were deliberately trying to take out these kids behind the goal. I should have laughed because actually he could have hurt them. But yeah, sorry. Maybe it still tickles me.
I've noticed. Bear in mind, this is over 20 years ago now. Never mind.
I know. Because the thing is, I spotted what they were doing. I decided to the steward and give him a quiet warning. I think Ben Thatcher just told him that, I think he gave him a few words that told him to do one.
Thatcher's not going to take any...
Yeah, but he's a responsible adult now. He's obviously a parent as well, Ben Thatcher. He still comes to games, so I think he's mellowed out.
Okay, I suppose it happens to us all. Last thing I want to touch about squad was you talked about not shooting and scoring goals, what have you. Kwesi Appiah. So we're getting into the last stages of the game and it's 1-1, and we're thinking, actually, do you know what? If we're putting some pressure on them and unnerving them a little bit, there might be 3 points in this for us. So let's change the striker, see what we can get. And we brought off Felivi and we brought on Dylan Connolly.
Yes.
What a statement that is for Kwesi.
Well, it is, because Connolly went and played up front, didn't he? So
yeah, no, that's
because we can't find. This is the biggest problem we've got with this 3-5-2 formation is we can't find places for Connolly and Pinnock. We're trying to play Pinnock as a central midfielder, which I don't think he is, and we're trying to play Connolly as a central forward, which he isn't. However, yes, that was a strong message in my opinion, and Kwesi only come on the moment we conceded that late winner in the end, it turned out to be. But yeah, what message does it send to Kwesi? Because it basically tells you that he thinks Connolly... Don't get me wrong, Felivi and Connolly are both the same type of... They both have pace. One can run... One runs, just basically down the touchline and runs out of space, and Felivi will try and drop off and run at people. But yeah, it tells you something I think it tells you very much that Kwesi maybe isn't in the long-term plans of the management team.
Okay, to round up then this week's action on the field, Stu, I want to pick who had, of all our squad, which player had the best week? Who do you think, if you were going to rank the squad in terms of who had the best performance or who had the best week for us, who would you pick?
It'd be Luke O'Neill, quite comfortably. I think he had a storming debut, and I think he had a great week in terms of staking his claim for that right back position for the whole season, or right wing back, sorry.
Okay, I would agree with you on that one. Not so good. Not such a good week for
it's hard. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I suppose for Paul Cannon-Baye, because he had to count rather than rub them. He had to count them.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that one, but all right. Fair enough.
I don't think it's difficult to say someone had a bad game, if I'm being truthful.
No, I suppose not. I guess in terms of a bad week, though, you'd probably look at, like you've mentioned there, Kwesi. You'd probably question Nathan Trott in his situation. Somebody might even Scott Wagstaff. What's going on there?
Yeah, but I think you could probably understand it, because I think, like I say, they're a big team, Rotherham. They are a big, big team.
True, but you think about the substitution we made late on. Hartigan comes off and McLaughlin's the one that comes on.
Yeah, good shout. And McLaughlin's a weird one, isn't he? Because he come in, I think you and I both really liked him, done the simple stuff, got the ball, go to someone better than him.
Busy, yeah.
Yeah, but he just seems to... He didn't impact the game. He hasn't done... There's been a few games he's not done that to the latter end of last season. He's just not influencing games, and he come on and didn't really do anything, did he? And yeah, that would be a concern.
Man of the match vote we did on Twitter was won by Paul Cannon-Baye. The three options we gave you were Will Nightingale, Luke O'Neill and Paul Cannon-Baye. As I said, I think you and I, Stu, both picked O'Neill, but the vote, 56% of the vote went to Paul Cannon-Baye, so congratulations to him, our first Man of the Match winner of the season on the 9 Years Podcast Twitter at 9Wires Podcast. We also did our 3-word reports. They came back, and thank you very much we got so many responses to this. So thank you to everyone on Twitter that responded to that, and we'll be doing this throughout the season. So hashtag Don's 3-word report. We can't go through all of them, obviously, but if you go onto Twitter, if you search for hashtag Don's 3-word report, 3 the digit, not the word, you'll find all the responses. Picked out a couple. I mean, most of them, Stu, discussed exactly what you were talking about not shooting. That was a big one that a lot of people mentioned. They said not taking chances. The two that I've highlighted, Mark Lodge at Mark Mode to Joy, target man needed.
Yeah.
Which again was a very common response, or a common theme. And Mike Hasty at Mike Hasty 1A, bar staff needed. I'm not sure we should, or we have anything else to add to that, but I believe an advert has gone out for bar staff who are on holiday. And
obviously we've got a lot of long-term sicknesses and long-term holidays.
Just get some of the, I don't know. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. And the last thing, of course, we have to bring back another old podcast favourite this season. And for the first game of the season, which depresses me immensely, Rotherham United.
You just made the list!
Red, you play in red. Red does not clash with blue. Why are you in white? Well, actually, I say this. I think they did have a game in the week, actually, in that trophy that's a crock of poo that no one likes, but I think they did have a game in it this week, so that's probably why they did it. But that doesn't accept it.
It's changed name again now, isn't it?
Has it? I don't pay attention to it. I don't care.
Yeah, it's changed name now, isn't it? It's apparently it's on lease or something, isn't it? A trophy now.
Oh right.
Yeah,
so
obviously. Yeah, the Checker Trade loved that trophy and obviously wanted to stay involved in it, didn't they? Yeah. Actually, funny thing was Pompey against Birmingham was on TV, wasn't it, on Tuesday night
in the League Cup?
Yeah, for a minute I thought, 1 second, is our game tonight? And how weird is that? Why is there a difference in? Is it because Sky just have no football because the Promised Land, the Premiership doesn't start until Friday now, doesn't it? With Liverpool play on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure why they brought that game forward to this midweek. I'm sure there are many reasons, but I suppose TV probably is the bottom line. But anyway, speaking of that, going to go again. We sort of tend to meander off topics a little bit. Premier League does start this weekend. Now, I was thinking about this earlier. So the last time we were in the Premier League, on the opening day, we went to Vicarage Road and we won 3-2.
Yeah.
With goals from Carl Court, Marcus Gale, and an own goal, which was quite clearly an own goal, as in Neil Ardley was following the ball in, but he got nowhere near it, and the Watford centre-half, because Watford are numpties, smashed it into the back of his own net because he's an idiot. Quite clear. It's quite clear an own goal. You've seen it many times, haven't you? Right?
Yes.
Clearest own goal you're ever going to see. We were walking back to the station, I've never forgotten this, and a Watford fan, for starters, any Watford fans listening to this show, never talk to me at any point. I'm not interested. Keep your distance. My first day of teacher training, guy sits next to me. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I said, so whereabouts are you from then? He goes, Watford. I'm like, no, That's it. Can't talk to you anymore. I actually got up and left. I just didn't say anything. I just stood up and walked away. Anyway,
I'll get over this.
This Watford fan was telling us, he said, oh no, it was Ardley's goal. Definitely Ardley got the last touch. He got the last touch. It's Ardley's goal. I'm thinking, when I saw it back on TV on Match Today that night, I'm thinking, that was when I first realised that Watford are a bit different, the people there. How do you see that? I can understand sort of misjudging something or other, but to be 100% confident... No, anyway, that's my little rant about Watford over for this week. I hate them more than you hate Bristol Rovers. That's how bad it is. Anyway, my point is, that was a Saturday 3:00 kickoff, and we scored the first goal of the Premier League season that season anywhere, because, shock horror stew, there were 8 Premier League games kicking off at 3:00 on Saturday. Now we get to it. 4. There are 4 3:00 Saturday kickoffs in the Premier League for the first weekend. This is horrendous. So you've got a Friday night game. You've got a Saturday early afternoon, late morning kickoff, whatever it is. The early evening kickoff. And then you've got 3 games on the Sunday, which is not helped by Europa League, but whatever. 4-3. The excitement for me of football is when you get to opening day and everyone would be kicking off at the same time and you'd be following the scores, and at the end of your game you'd find out what everyone had done. That's gone. Premier League's just gone now. Just get rid.
It's for an overseas market, isn't it? You know, it's for, I say an overseas market. It's for most Premierships. Still, amazingly, they still get good attendances, but they're basically TV games, aren't they? And it's also for the overseas market as well, because that obviously does very well at Premiership. Yeah, Premiership's what it is, isn't it? You know, I mentioned to you guys in a week that I watched the debate, which is always quite interesting on Sky Sports. They did a VAR special, and it's VAR's coming into the Premiership this season, and they had an old referee, Sawbrick. I don't know what his name is. An old referee, basically.
Neil Swarbrick.
That's it. Spoke very well about VAR. But one thing that tickled me a little bit was that, you know, if you go to rugby and you go to cricket, it has the big... But you know, it has the TV, the big screens, and it says, I don't know, reviewing decision or stuff like that. They're actually going to have that in the Premier League as part of VAR. Apart from Old Trafford and Anfield, because they don't have the big screens. No. Which, again, made me chuckle, thinking, crikey, 2 of the biggest clubs and they don't have big screens. Maybe. They can't read up there, maybe. Anyway, but the one thing is they said, and the thing that made me tickle the most was, well, it's an entertainment business. They need to know, the fans in the ground need to know, and actually it might create a bit more excitement, and it just summed it up for me. This is a sport. This is not entertainment in terms of, you know, this all, I don't know. What are they going to do? They're going to boo the TV screen when it gives a bad decision. They're going to slow clap. Yeah. But at least they're going to be informed of the fans in the Premiership. But yeah. Premiership is what it is. I've got a Fulham fan at work who basically doesn't want to do well this year. So I'm quite happy they lost at Barnsley, because it means they probably won't go up or they won't challenge for the title because they don't want to go back in the Premiership. Fancy playing in a league, we don't want to get promoted. But it sums you up for the fans, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sad state of affairs, isn't
it? They lost to Barnsley, didn't they?
They did.
Welcome to Barnsley, and Civic started
and played well didn't he? From all accounts. And Steve Seddon started for Birmingham Brentford and got an assist as they won there. So, yeah, well done to those 2. Very glad to see former players doing well. Elsewhere in League One, that was the Championship, of course, but looking elsewhere, what was the pick of your results from the opening weekend, apart from our own game?
Fleetwood probably winning, if I remember off the top of my head, they won at Peterborough, didn't they? Which I think was a good result, really, because Peterborough normally tip to do well. Fleetwood are probably dark horses this year. I know they've just signed another player, the forward they had last year. But that probably, I think that probably would have been my pick. Lincoln being Accrington. I said to you, I think Lincoln might do quite well. Although I must admit, my wife couldn't understand the siren noise.
Oh, yeah, the air siren, yeah.
She thought something was going on, maybe out. She goes, "Oh, was there trouble outside the ground or something?"
It's like Wallingford all over again.
Yeah, they just do that for corners. And she was like, "That's annoying." I went, "Could be annoying."
But wasn't it? Do you remember going to Harlow Town? Did it when we went there? That one time we went to Harlow Town, and they had one.
Yeah, new ground as well, wasn't it? I remember Harlow.
Yeah, it was very good to see it.
But yeah, I think there was a mixture of results, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean? But I think I probably would go with Fleetwood's 3-1 win at Peterborough.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go for Ipswich because That was a tough opening game for them down away at Burton. They came through it and won 1-0, but ignore that, move straight on because I want to get onto Fleetwood, and as you've referenced them there, let's talk about them because that is who we've got next on Saturday. So we travel to Highbury, and you're right, they had a good. So let's talk about that 3-1 at Peterborough. So it was 3 new signings that got the goals. They had 7 debutants in the 11 that started that game. And I don't think they've really lost many. And they, as you've just mentioned, they've brought in that striker, Mr. Evans is back.
Yes.
But Harry Souttar, I think I've pronounced that correctly. He's a centre half from Stoke. Apparently, expect another game against a giant team this weekend. By the way, he's like a 6'6" centre half. He scored. Josh Morris, who you talked about last week's show, is one of your picks of the summer transfers. Great finish for their second goal, and then another great finish. Daniel Andrews scored their third. So it is a great win. Do you think when you've got 7 debutants in your team and you're signing more? I think teams like that can be a little bit inconsistent. So they've gone to Peterborough, got a good win, but new squads, lots of signings. They can have a little bit of time to transition and get used to playing with each other, can't they? So it can go very well one week, but then the next week, who knows?
Yeah, it could do. But yeah, it could do. You're right. 7 new players is, I think, what you're probably looking at. And Joe Barton doesn't always seem the most switched on or smartest person in the world. However, he has gone for big players, and this League One is sometimes a little bit, big teams or big physical teams do tend to do well. I know that's just common sense, but playing pretty football isn't always the greatest way of doing it. When you just look at their bench, though, you've got Paddy Madden and Hunter still on the bench, so 2 good forwards still on the bench, and obviously the other forwards come in there. So, I think it's going to be. I think Fleetwood are going to be better than they were last year. Obviously, we won up there. We won them twice. Then we won first open day of the season, and then the cup. But then if I remember correctly, they battered us in our home in the midweek game. If I remember correctly,
wasn't it the week before West Ham? Yeah,
I think was it 3-0. We lost at home, and we didn't play well at all. But I think it's a tough game. I think you're right. 7 new signings potentially could struggle to bed in, but they've obviously done well to start the season, and we'll be going for back-to-back wins on Saturday.
Yeah, it's true what you say about their style of football. Perhaps they're going for 6 bookings they picked up on Saturday, all in the second half as well. So a little bit of gamesmanship, I think, was being in effect there. Shows Joe Barton's figured that one out a lot quicker than we ever did in this division.
Yeah. And they have got money. They've got an owner. Both got owners. Peterborough got an owner to chuck money in, and so will Fleetwood. So suggestion of Fleetwood, like I say, Fleetwood in the Premiership. Sorry, Fleetwood in the Championship. Interesting thought, isn't it? Do you know what I mean, down there? But yeah, I think they do well this season.
A few stats then before we go on. Fleetwood, their odds, we talked about being dark horses. We didn't mention them in the top 6 last week, but they have got odds now of 5-1 on average to be promoted. But Joe Barton, he's got to get over this little bit of an inconsistent season last season. So his League One record now reads 1-17, lost 17, drawn 13. He's had 4 fights and he's been called in for 12 disciplinary meetings. Their record against us, we've actually got a good record against them. We've only lost 3 times, but they were over the course of the last 2 seasons. I think the famous water polo match at Kingsmeadow a couple of seasons back, they won 3-0, as you referenced there, midweek. They've only beaten us once at Highbury, though, and that was a 2-0 win a couple of years ago. So our record is strong. We have won 7 times. It is a hard game, though. Do you see us picking up anything there on Saturday? Can you give us a prediction?
I think we won't lose. So I think we'll get a draw up there. I don't see us losing back-to-back games, if I'm being honest with you. So I think we will go there and get a point.
Yeah, I've not made my mind up about this one yet, but I have similar thoughts to you. I was convinced we were always losing to Rotherham, and I said 2-1 we'd lose last week. So I just had a sense all week going into that game that was what was going to happen. I've not quite got that in my head yet, so I'm not sure, but I could see us being a bit of a boring 0-0 draw, but we'd all take it, wouldn't we? So have you had a chance to look at the other fixtures in League One this weekend? Any picks of big games? There's one that stands out to me, to be honest with you, above all others.
Well, yeah, I did, and then I forgot.
Brilliant. Amazing. Do you want me to go through the one I've got?
Yeah, go for yours. Why? I'm away this week, so I'm not maybe paying as much attention as I should do. You go yours first.
Well, mine was just the easiest, obvious one: Ipswich versus Sunderland.
Who obviously Sunderland didn't start too well, did they? Obviously a home draw against Oxford, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's not loads that stand.
No, there wasn't, to be fair.
I suppose, do you know what? Rotherham, Lincoln, maybe. In terms of, I'm really interested to see how Lincoln get on this year. Like I say, I think they do well. So maybe that. Interested to see how Southend do, because when you look at, when we went into League One, you looked at certain teams, the Oxfords and the Southend, and thought they were all really strong. Now I'm sort of looking, going, well, do you know what? They're probably 6-pointers now.
Yeah.
So just curious to see how your Southend and Oxford do, but yeah, I think the Sunderland Ipswich does stand out, and then we obviously go to Ipswich quite soon, don't we, as well? So let's hope Sunderland batter some of their players.
We can only hope, Stu. We can only hope. Before we do have a midweek game coming up with Ipswich, we have another midweek game before that in the League Cup. We do in the League Cup. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but let's have a quick little bit of a break from football matters for a second, and let's play our game, our much-loved new game, Nick Zan Every Second Countdowns. And Stu, in honour of this game in the League Cup, I thought the question this week, the list I'm looking from you, is League Cup related, and it's a little bit different. So, as you remember, in the late 90s, we twice got to the League Cup semi-final.
Yes, we did. 96-97
and 98-99. In both of those seasons, we played in 5 rounds of the competition. Obviously, we won in 4 of them, and then we lost in the semi-finals. In total, therefore, we had 10 fixtures across those 2 cup runs. All I'm looking for, Stu, is as many teams as you can remember having played in those 2 League Cup campaigns, including the teams that beat us in the semi-finals, which you probably are going to get first. The hint, before I start you, is that one team, bizarrely, we played one team in both cup runs. So there were 9 different teams in total. So if I just count you down, and then I'll play the music and then see how many you get in 30 seconds. All right? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Leicester.
Yep.
Spurs.
Yep.
Bolton.
Yep.
Millwall.
No.
Who? Watford.
No.
Oh, I'm trying. I can think of 3. I can't think of 9. Millwall.
You just said Millwall. I said no.
Oh, Bolton.
Said Bolton.
Oh, I can't think. League Cup. I'm just going to go Palace.
No.
Chelsea.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that's your time. You got 4.
Yeah, I sort of, obviously the 2 semi-finals, I remember them too well, and Bolton was Bolton's still a great away game because it was the old Burnden Park.
It was.
And 2-0 at midweek, and a surge down the terracing with only 100 away fans in that massive end at Burnden Park.
Yes, and I remember watching it on the highlights on ITV. At Stuart O'Clock, yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. I'm interested to know who the other ones are now.
Okay, so the 4 you got, you're right. The Leicester semi-final on away goals, the Spurs semi-final, we lost 1-0. Robbie Earle hit the bar in the last kick of the game. Bolton, like you say, I've made a boo-boo, Stu. I'm very sorry. You did much better than I thought. Sorry, do you know what? Do you know why I've made a boo-boo? It's because... Okay, so there was actually 8 teams, because Bolton we beat in both cup runs again, bizarrely.
I said them twice, didn't I?
96-97, like you've just referenced, at Burnden Park. But obviously the next time was at the sponsored stadium. So that was when Mark Kennedy might have scored a free kick.
See, I remember losing a cup tie up there, because that was the famous time when our good friend Nick Palmer, left his jacket on the coach and had to get a hot drink most of the time to keep warm.
Yes, I think that might have been the season after under Egil Olsen.
Yeah, Peter Beardsley scored a very quick winner.
Yes,
in extra time.
Yes.
Could have done it a lot quicker, and we could have gone home quicker.
Well, it would have been nice, wouldn't it? But so actually, sorry, there were 8 answers. What a numpty I am. But anyway, Bolton. So you got Bolton. So actually, technically, you got 4 out of 8.
Yay!
Bolton, Chelsea, 2-1. Michael Hughes scored a penalty. Robbie Earle scored the other one. We won 2-1 at Birmingham. Neil Lavey scoring twice.
I went to that. Damn.
There you go. Portsmouth were the other team that we played twice. We played them in the same round both times over 2 legs. And then that just leaves the final answer that you didn't get. Can you believe you didn't get this one, Stu? Of all the teams not to get, everybody's second club, Luton Town, at Kenilworth Road with an extra time winner with Peter Fear, and my brother Chris and Nick Palmer were nearly murdered by being pushed off a bridge, which they have not failed to remind me of every single time I mention Luton.
Wasn't a Birmingham midweek game also when we, your brother,
yes,
was walking along the car on the motorway because he stupidly went out and got.
Yep.
Still, your brother was so stupid that day. We basically, to tell everybody, we basically said that there was something in the back of the boot. We were stuck on the motorway in midweek. Horribles. And he actually got out the car, and the moment he got out the car, we locked doors.
And he just was walking after the car down the motorway.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. God,
oh dear. The away games. We had such fun. We were such children when we were younger. Obviously, you and your nappy still.
I was still very, very young. Yeah. Yes. That's why I can't really remember it. But anyway. Right, well, thank you very much, Nick Zan. I can't even say it now. Nick Zan, Every Second Count Downs. Let us know how you got on at Nine Wires Podcast. We are running late.
That's sounding great.
So we were going to talk about this League Cup game very, very quickly, Stu. We're expecting. The only reason I wanted to mention it is because this is such a weird fixture in terms of the absolute hatred and angst that exists and our feelings towards that football club, which is not translated into any form of sporting rivalry whatsoever, to the point that people don't care. Tickets went on general sale to fans. It was unreserved seating in the main stand, and you could just go down and pick up tickets without any issue whatsoever. Don't know how many they're going to bring. Don't know if really care about them whatsoever. People really aren't bothered, are they, by this fixture in any way, shape or form?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Right, because I've got two schools of thought on this. Yeah, do you know what? We're doing a very low key. They won't travel. They don't travel anyway. They don't like coming to our place, and this one obviously we know why that is. But on the other hand, I think if you remember when they were last in the league, we lost the league game, didn't we, at home when Lyle missed a penalty, and it sort of set very early. It's a big game in terms of, I think if you win that game, I know we don't want to make the game big in terms of we're looking forward to it. No one is. However, the players know how serious it is in terms of, I think it's quite, if we can win that game and progress and beat them, then going into playing them in the live game in the early September, I think it's quite a big game to win, if that makes sense. You don't want to lose that because the players, your fans will say they don't care about it. However, if we lose that, they will be going, we lost against them. If we win, it's like a real big boost going into, which is still a tough opening start to the season.
I mean, we won't spend much time on it. It's just, I'm fascinated to see what happens on the evening in terms of atmosphere, in terms of attendance, how many they bring, how Wally gets on with his counterpart in the other dugout. It's not going to be. I'll tell you what, sartorial elegance is not going to be the winner with those two in the dugouts. I'll tell you that much. But hey,
yeah, it's a game we'd rather not have. However, let's go and smash them.
Yes, love that attitude, because I will not be happy if we lose to them, and then we have to go there very shortly afterwards as well. So,
we'll watch it on TV.
Of course, it's on TV. It's on Sky, isn't it? Midday.
I'm not going there. I'm not going. I'm not setting one foot in that place because it'll be on Sky.
Well, there you go. Fair enough. I feel like I kind of just now I've gone every time, so I might as well keep up going and just But anyway, we'll come to that, cross that bridge a little bit further down the line. Let's finish off this week's show then. Ladies very quickly beat Ashford Town ladies 8-2 in a friendly last weekend. I would 8 to be Ashford with that sort of scoreline.
Oh dear. Oh mate.
And don't forget, this season for the ladies kicks off on the 18th of August at Ipswich.
Yeah, and they were guests in the Carvery on Saturday. They were at the game. I think they were guests on Mike Richardson. They were at the game on Saturday. I noticed they were in a bar. And hey, look, you know what made me chuckle? A lot of them were drinking alcohol and beer. And to be fair, they got there early, so they got served. But I was like, oh, that's not good for pre-season. I was being quite critical of them. I was like, you shouldn't be drinking all that. But well done, ladies.
So sexist.
It's not sexist. If
that
the guys
is
were doing,
totally sexist. Yeah.
If the guys were doing that, I'd be doing the same thing. But well done. You got served, so well done on that. But yeah, good luck for the season.
Absolutely. And that is it. So final little bits and pieces. 9wirespodcast.org. Don't forget to check out that. There is an interview on there with Ian Holloway that Kevin Boris, I don't know what the word is. Is the word?
What? Did?
Well, he did it, but there's a better word.
Yeah. Recorded
Conducted.
it.
He conducted an interview.
Conducted like a choir.
Yes, but with Ian Holloway. Nice little 12-minute chat on the website, so go there and have a listen to that. Some interesting things there about Wally Downs, Glyn Hodges, the old Crazy Gang and the current squad. And then Kevin is actually on the Love Sport radio show this Sunday at 8 p.m. with Hannah Kitcher, so tune into that as well. Updates from the games with Fleetwood and in the League Cup will be on our Twitter page at 9YRS Podcast. And if you have any questions, comments or suggestions or anything like that, you can email us 9yrs@may14.co.uk. Other than that, Stu, that is it. Thank you very much for joining me this week.
No problem at all.
Fine words, butter, no parsnips. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. We will speak to you again next Friday. Now, I've said fine words, butter, no parsnips there, because Chris messaged me the other day saying a long thing about this, and he says, and as our mum used to say, fine words, butter, no parsnips. I have literally never heard my mother say those words.
No, I saw that.
It's like, and now she's trying to say that we asked her about it, and she was just like, I have said that in the past. I'm like, well, not to me, you haven't. And I would never put it
out, would it? Yeah.
Exactly. It's not like a phrase that I would suddenly say, oh, my mum used to say that all the time. She might have said it like twice in her life. And now it's a thing. This is not a thing. And now I'm made to feel like I'm the one that's being an idiot. No, she never said it. Yeah. She never says it.
Exactly. You would use it. It's something you would hear and go, what?
Yeah.
It's quite distinctive, isn't it?
Basically, my mum is known for... She does have some certain catchphrases. For instance, wake up and smell the coffee. That would be one.
Yeah.
Shut up is one. Various racial and sexual slurs, but not fine words, butter, no parsnips.
No, I did see that. It did make me chuckle.